Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butter beer.
Hello and welcome to the Three Broomsticks. We invite you to pull up a chair, grab a butterbeer, and settle in for a hearty discussion about Harry Potter. And for the first time in 2025, it's me, Ev McLaughlin.
And I'm Sierra Overmark.
And I'm Irvin Cateman. Wait, really? This is your first one of the year?
Yep. It is indeed.
How exciting.
Because I couldn't make it to the previous one, so this is the first one.
I mean, okay, yeah, in fairness, this is the third episode of the year, so okay.
Yeah, so I'm delighted to be back with you guys.
Well, today, for this episode, we are delighted to have you here for. This is episode number 54, and we have gathered to discuss shipping Draco Malfoy. Recommended reading the books, or fanfics where they talk about these things, or any number of other possible discussions about Draco Malfoy.
Yes. And I will add recommended listening Swish and Flick's entire discography, because pretty much all they sing about is wanting to sleep with Draco Malfoy. So I think it is a wonderful body of work that one should absolutely read and listen to really get a sense of why everyone wants to ship Draco Malfoy so very much.
So, love is in the air, apparently. And a huge thank you to Sam Omen over on our Patreon, who bought this round of drinks at the pub.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Thanks, Sam!
If you'd also like to buy us around at the pub, head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks with number 3 to sign up. And we're offering lots of bonus content, chats with the hosts, and on episode shout-outs to our patrons, like we just did for Sam. And we would really appreciate your help in keeping the lights on at the Three Broomsticks, so we can talk about Harry Potter for a long time to come. Come visit us at our Patreon Nook, a special room in Three Broomsticks that's only for the best wizards ever, our Patreon supporters.
Yes.
We need more drinks.
And it can be a very romantic destination. So, you should come visit us with your significant others. Bring them to our Patreon as well.
And the atmosphere is much better than in Madam Puddifoot's. It's less pink.
Oh my God. I know. I was reading that and I was like, this sounds like the absolute worst, place to go on a date ever.
That would be horrible. No, thank you. No.
And I say that as someone who likes tea more than the average bear.
I do like tea, but that's a bit too much pink for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the confetti. I'm like, why would you want to have that much confetti when you are trying to drink a beverage without a lid?
You would not.
It's not a good combo.
It could be edible confetti.
Still, you wouldn't I don't know.
I mean, okay, no, Ev, I hadn't thought of that. That is a bit of a game changer in my mind.
Always happy to help.
I'm still out. I don't care. Well, let us offer a toast to the comments on episode 51. This episode was part 2 of our Order of the Phoenix chapter 23 Christmas on the Closed Ward episode, where we had everyone, yay, Christmas. We raise our glass to commenter Absent-Minded Raven, who said, "Here's a theory. Maybe Lockhart remembers more than he lets on. After all, he spent the previous however many years pretending to be an adventuring author, but he knows he won't be able to get away with that anymore, and might even have to answer for his crimes, as Sam suggests. So why not a new shtick as a recovering amnesiac? He gets weighted on hand and foot and still gets to spend most of his day reading and answering fan mail. He's in heaven." You make a good point,
He
my
makes
man.
such a good point.
I
read this and I was like, I can't think of anything to disprove it, honestly. I don't want this to be true because I really want Lockhart to get his comeuppance, but I was like, I can't say it's wrong.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, he kind of covers all of the holes that I would poke in it, because he might have to answer for his crimes if he can remember them. But as it is, he doesn't have to. He still gets to have everything done for him. He gets to answer his fan mail, which is his absolute favorite thing to do, which we know because he thought that Harry helping him was like a reward instead of a punishment. And he, you know, is all about pretending and being a completely different person than he is. So, yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing is maybe we just need to do a second Lockhart episode.
I'm here for
in light of this.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorites we've ever done on the show.
It was a great one. We could do a what if Lockhart.
Oh.
Yes, I would love that. Isn't that his birthday soon?
I think it was yesterday, actually. Or,
okay.
yesterday when we're recording. So, a month ago when you're hearing this.
A happy birthday.
Yes. Well, happy birthday to Gilderoy Lockhart if he remembers it.
Yes.
I'm sure his fans do.
Yeah.
That's true. He probably does get birthday cards, so he'll always know his birthday.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of fans and things they write, like fan fiction.
Fan fiction!
So I meant to mention that today's episode is actually the second in this series that we started last year, where we were talking about shipping Hermione, which was great fun. And it was, I think, episode 27.
Yep.
It was called Shipping Hermione. It's not all wand work. So if you're interested, and it's also kind of connected to the Draco Malfoy shipping because she will come up, obviously. Do go and listen to that episode as well. And I'm here in my capacity as a not really very shippy person, but I do love gossip, and there's nobody better than Irvin for knowledge of both Malfoys and gossip. So I am just delighted to be here.
Ev, that is the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Can that be a blurb in your book?
Yes, I think it absolutely should be.
It could go into one of those little... Is that what's called a blurb? The bit that goes at the back of the book?
I don't remember. I don't know what it's... Is it a blurb?
So there are two things called blurbs. The, summary of the book on the back is called the blurb, but also when, you have pull quotes from people saying nice things about it, those are also blurbs.
Okay, I was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that works. That works.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Ev knows what she speaks of because when I visited her in Northern Ireland, we spent a solid, day just gossiping our way through Northern Ireland. We hit up, a museum and a castle here and there, but, there was a lot of gossiping.
That is very true. That was great.
That's fantastic.
So the first pairing that we have for discussion is Draco and Pansy. What do you think, Irvin?
I mean, I am very amused by Draco Pansy because, at least the way I read it, it's so one-sided. She is so thirsty for him, and, he could not be bothered.
I think he likes the attention.
Oh, 100%.
At the bare minimum, he likes the attention. And he is...
Who wouldn't?
I mean, you have a pretty... Well, we don't really know how pretty. They always call her pug-nosed, but who knows what that really means. But,
according to Draco and the Malfoys, she's the only okay-looking girl in Slytherin, so...
Oh, harsh.
Ouch.
Listen, talk to Bradley and Brian. I just quote it.
Yeah. But, he gets to lay his head in her lap and have his hair played with and, all of those things. So... I can imagine who wouldn't want some sort of interest, especially a teenage boy.
Yeah, so I actually addressed this in my upcoming Malfoy book. Listeners, coming to a bookstore near you in October. But yeah, I wrote a whole section subtitled Draco Malfoy's Hairy Heart, which I amuse myself with. But yeah, basically I was like, okay, so do we have any evidence whatsoever that Draco is in any way interested? And yeah, I came up empty. She is very obviously interested in Draco. Sort of ever since we see her in Prisoner of Azkaban, she's all in on it. But never in the reverse direction. The most, like, damning thing in my mind is the fact that we never ever throughout the books see them one-on-one. Like, spending time together. Honestly, even if you don't count Crabbe and Goyle as separate people, which, you know, up to you. Like, we never even see them hanging out, like, 3-on-1. Like, Pansy's only ever there in, like, a big group setting with a lot of Slytherins. You know, think, like, you know, class at Hogwarts, think the Hogwarts Express, where Draco's holding court. But yeah, I feel like sort of if there were anything happening, if there were any interest, like, you know, you'd want to spend time one-on-one with her, one assumes. So the two exceptions are when she visits him in the hospital wing, which, again, was entirely her initiative, and when they go to the Yule Ball together. Yeah. So actually, can we talk about the Yule Ball for a minute?
Always.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like it's going to come up a lot on, well, every shipping episode, because, it's delightful. Here's my question. How did Draco and Pansy end up going to the Yule Ball together?
So you probably would have asked her, which is a bit
Oh my god, do you
strange.
think so?
Or do you think she asked him?
Oh, I think she
would
absolutely asked him.
I think, probably.
Like, again, judging by the direction in which romantic interest is flowing here, like, I can't see Pansy Parkinson waiting around and letting her pureblood Slytherin dream, like, slip through her clutches. Like, no. The minute they announced the Yule Ball, she pounced. Like, when there's a prize like Draco.
Aren't they more likely to be traditional, the purebloods, that she would expect that, you know, a boy would do it? Rather than
tradition be damned when there's a Malfoy on the line.
Oh, okay, right. All bets are off.
All bets are off. Here's my compromise on that. I think she didn't ask him and she didn't give him a choice. She just said, okay, so when we go together, you're going to wear this and I'm going to wear this, so we match.
Oh.
Just straight, flat out assumption, like, done deal. She just is like, yep, this is happening and we're going to match and this is what I'm going to wear and this is what you're going to wear. And then she just didn't give him an option.
I honestly, I really like that. I don't believe it, but I find it immensely entertaining.
So something that just occurred to me right now as you were talking, Sierra, I wonder, given how involved Lucius and Narcissa are in Draco's life and how close-knit the, you know, Death Eater families are, and, well, Sacred 28 in general, do you think Narcissa, like, talked to Draco about this and was like, oh, well, you know, you should really invite this girl, or
are they already betrothed? Or
have the parents kind of arranged it behind the scenes, so maybe neither Pansy nor Draco really did anything to go together. Maybe it's their, like, mothers just sort of had a chat and that was decided then.
Yeah. That's not a bad thing if you go from the kind of standpoint that, like, we don't have enough, I feel like, on the Sacred 28 in canon or, you know, subsequent materials to understand kind of their inner workings, but it does come across a little like old world court-esque.
Yeah.
And so if we're going by like the rules of that, of like if they're following kind of the old school rules and the wizarding world kind of being a little behind the times and in certain respects, I can see it, and I can see there being kind of like a like families coming together, betrothal-esque like situations happening behind the scenes.
Not quite arranged marriage, but kind of leaning heavily in that direction.
Yeah, and when you do get into like the fan fiction world that mention like Pansy and Draco, a lot of times they like are betrothed, or they have some, or he and Astoria are, or there's something going on where like Draco knows he's not going to marry for love. He's going to be like have to marry a pureblood girl, basically. And there's only so many options. So like clearly other people think the same, but there's nothing in the
if I can rebut,
canon. Yeah.
I see where you're going with this, but my impression of the whole pureblood, thing is a little closer to sort of like mid 20th century royalty than like, 18th century royalty, where I think, like, Draco and all the purebloods are indoctrinated. They're like, listen, like, when the time comes, you must marry a nice, eligible girl from a nice, eligible pureblood family. Like, you have your parameters.
Yeah.
There you go. So sort of like, do what you want while at school, sow your wild oats or, as Mountbatten said on
fair.
The Crown. But then, like, be aware that, like, this is the list of eligible girls you will be able to marry. So I can't imagine them getting strictly involved like when 14-year-olds are going to a dance. I definitely think that sort of like,
too early.
Come like when they're 18 or so, then like, the parents will be like, all right, so
let's start narrowing our options. You should probably spend time with these ladies.
Yeah. So yes, like I could definitely see it your way, but I don't think it's quite as like, antiquated as all that.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely, I think I'm sticking on the pansy in charge of the situation for this particular
That's
one.
that spin-off TV show that we need to have.
Pansy in charge. Wow, never did you think you were going to have a Charles in Charge reference on this
There you go.
podcast, did you guys?
Didn't you should just assume that every single reference will eventually make its way here.
Every single reference of every single possible. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the longer we go, the more the more likely it is.
Yeah. But from the Draco perspective on the Yule Ball, I really wonder sort of at what point in the process did he sort of figure out he's going with Pansy? I mean, if we're not going by the, like, she told him they're going and they're going theory, which, I'm not opposed to. But
I like it.
Yeah. Assuming, like, she asked him instead of told him, it could sort of go two ways. Either she asks him on day one and Draco just, like, settles. He's like, well, like, that was easy. This is, like, an acceptable girl to go to the Yule Ball with. Like, fine, we're going. But it's also possible that, like, Pansy was his backup. That, like, he probably set his sights higher, maybe struck out, and then he was like, all right, I guess I'm going to Pansy. Like, I could sort of see him having a parallel journey to Ron's, where, he'll take the best-looking girl who'll have him, even if she's completely horrible.
Do you think he asked one of the Durmstrang girls?
I could see it. I could totally see it.
Because he was quite into the whole Durmstrang thing, so I can see he might have gone for it.
Yeah, he might have asked one of the Durmstrang girls. He also might have asked, like, an older Slytherin, like a 7th year. He's like, I'm a Malfoy. Do you want to go with me, pretty lady? And he's, like, up to her chin. And she's like, no, not even for a Malfoy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Like, maybe Daphne Greengrass also has an older sister at Hogwarts who's, like, 3 years ahead, and he's just really into the Greengrass women.
Grass is always greener. Somewhere.
He dated his way through the green grasses.
He did indeed.
No. Oh, goodness. I feel like, though, Draco just comes across as, like, I don't know that he would stick his neck out and risk getting turned down.
But would he expect to be turned down? Because he is, after all, a Malfoy.
He didn't think that he was going to get turned down. Here we go. There's my deep thought on this. He didn't think that Harry was going to turn him down, and he turned him down immediately. And ever since then, he doesn't want the shame of a public humiliation of being turned down by somebody.
Oh, he really wants to just go with Harry.
I mean, yes, that's what he wants deep down.
No, but I just think that I think as confident as he is, there's still, like, I think he's still maybe a little aware that it's a possibility, that if he asks someone, especially because he's probably seeing other guys asking girls and getting turned down, like in the hallways and at meals and stuff. And he's like, nah, that's not for me. And he knows that Pansy would say yes. So I feel like he may have shopped around in terms of like seeing if anybody else kind of was showing that they were interested. But then like, even if Pansy asked him day one, he probably was like, we'll see. And then just like strung her along until the end. Yeah.
Well, also going off that, he just, I think, got somewhat rebuffed by Victor Crumb. Because when Crumb shows up and Draco's like, oh, over here, sit over here. And then he's all pleased that Crumb is sitting with him. And then like, apparently they do not become besties. So yeah, I could see that sort of Draco is a bit rejection sensitive at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But yeah, so, like, going back to the Draco Pansy thing, we never see them together other than the Yule Ball. And also, like, no one ever comments on it. Like, I know the trio is usually, like, trying to save the world or whatever. But, like, you know, I feel like for as much as they talk and think about Draco, like, it would come up if he was romantically attached to someone. Like, I sort of think absence of evidence becomes evidence of absence.
Yeah. And the only time that we see anything like romantic-esque between them is in the train compartment when he's like laying on her lap. But like that doesn't necessarily mean anything and can definitely go along with the she likes him and is willing to like be subservient essentially to him. In the hopes that one day he'll be interested in her. Yeah.
And it like works with his whole image that he wants to project where he's like, yeah, I have girls fawning all over me. I have loyal henchmen among the boys. But yeah, I think Draco appreciates her sort of as an accessory and a henchwoman more than as a romantic interest.
Yeah.
So would you say it's like a weak evidence of Draco being in the closet?
I wouldn't, actually. I could see it. I think it's more evidence that Draco may be slightly on the asexual spectrum. Because, like, it's not like we ever see him evincing interest in boys beyond his obsession with Harry.
That is true. He just doesn't seem to show any interest other than in Harry.
Yeah. So, like, could be a late bloomer, because, I mean, the story only goes until he's 17. Could be he's just not super into all of that. Could be that, like, he knows he's expected to marry a nice pureblood girl, so he's like, you know, what's the point of figuring out my love life now? I'm going to marry one of, like, 8 eligible bachelorettes anyway. So, yeah, we don't know.
That, it also could be, like, a propriety thing of, like, he just keeps it, like, it's not something that he's, like, going to be all PDA about or whatever, but it's, like, yeah, he might spend some time with people or have little flings, but he's not going to like publicize it.
He has discretion,
probably because of the image. I would say like because it helps his image to not be like tied down.
I mean, but I don't know. I feel like the image he would project would sort of be more about how people are into him. Like, I think it would actually be more in character for if he had flings for him to like make sure people know about it. Because, like, between, like, the gender roles, which, like, you know, they're not quite as progressive as we are now in wizarding 1990s. And I feel like, you know, sort of it would be very much encouraged for, like, guys to, you know, have lots of flings, you know, to be seen with lots of different beautiful women. So, yeah, I think sort of, you know, Draco as a guy wouldn't worry about propriety as much. Like the girls might. But yeah, I sort of think that if Draco were having romantic liaisons, we would know about it.
That's definitely possible, yeah.
Sierra, you are our fanfic expert on the panel because Ev has mentioned that she doesn't read much, and I read an awful lot of fanfiction in 2007, but most of the fanfics...
That ship has sailed?
most of the fanfics I've read are old enough to vote. So,
Yes.
I think we turn to you.
Yeah.
What is the fanfic side of Draco Pansy?
So, full disclosure, I've never actually read a Draco Pansy specific,
Wow.
fic.
Wow.
I have read ones where they are dating and then they break up to make way for a new ship, or ones where it references that they used to be a thing. I am in general a big fan of the fics where they're best friends. She's kind of gotten over her whole teen love obsession thing, and now they're just really good friends, and she's very protective of him and supportive of him, or they're kind of more sibling and then she usually is one of the ones who's reaching out to whatever interested party and being okay, here's how you Draco. You want to be with him, here's what you gotta know.
If you want to be with him, darling, there's a price you'll pay.
Exactly. So, I think that's what I'm sure there's a subsection of hardcore Draco Pansy people out there, but from
Surely.
what I have experienced, most people kind of group them in a sibling, friends, or even just straight enemies capacity by the time that the fic starts. And yeah, I think this is definitely it's their whole relationship, if there is one in canon, seems very quintessential, teen love. One person's super into it, or they think it's love, but it's really not at all. And either kind of any, whatever it is, this ship is something that we grow out of as we mature. The ship matures with us.
Yeah. Well, and the other interesting thing that I remember from my fanfic days of yore is, a lot of the times when you have a pairing, the person in question will be with someone else and then they need to find the right person. But
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really saw much of, oh, Draco is with Pansy and he needs to, find that, the giant squid is his true love.
Or an apple.
It's definitely the apple.
We'll get there.
Yeah. We're leading up to the most important ships. But yeah, so where Hermione's always oh, well, Hermione's with Ron, and then she needs to realize she should be with X, Y, or Z. I didn't find that a lot with Draco. Draco usually was an unattached bachelor when fanfics began.
Free agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's Draco Pansy. Do we have any other things we need to discuss? Is there any hope for Pansy, or should we just call time of death on this one?
Harsh.
Yeah, I know. I don't know that it's
listen, Pansy.
It's not a long-lasting love, my friend.
Pansy, he's just not that into you.
So, as a closing thought on Draco and Pansy, apparently in the language of flowers, pansies represent thoughts, love, and romance. So that doesn't really give us anything extra. But
not in the language of Harry Potter, she doesn't.
Ooh.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, there's also the fact that, Jo hates Pansy. She loathes her. Pansy is every girl who ever bullied Jo Rowling in school. So, as much as Jo dislikes Draco, she's no, Pansy doesn't get a happy ending. She doesn't get to end up with anyone she loves.
Oh, wait, another thing on the language of flowers. Pansies are often used with platonic love as well as unrequited or secret affairs.
Hey, there it is.
There's something else there.
Well done.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because we know Jo is super into the language of flowers and all.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to try and find it, because it was oh, pansy.
Yeah.
Pansy's a flower, right?
Yes, she is.
There you go.
Yeah. What can you find about grass of the green variety?
Well, I don't think that's really a flower, so.
Well, as I'm the renowned botany expert, growing up in a city. Sure.
Are we going to have the same conversation about grass and flowers as we had about the moon?
Okay, listen, I knew how the moon works, okay? And I know how grass works. I touch it on occasion.
That's fine.
There are parks.
There are.
It's a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen Friends. Central Park is in New York, right?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody who doesn't have a flower name is Hermione and Draco.
Yes.
We talked about at length during Hermione's
Yes.
shipping episode, but from Hermione's point of view. So do you guys have anything you want to add from Draco's point of view?
Oh, very much.
Many things.
Yeah. So, like, Hermione is my fanonship. Like, you know, it's so not canon. Like, it does not work in canon. But God, I love a Hermione fanfic.
Mm-hmm.
So Draco Hermione, I feel like it really took off after Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Just because there are so many parts in Goblet of Fire that you can read as Draco being into Hermione. Like, you know, sort of a lot of shipping, like you sort of gotta reach for it. Like, it was very easy to read Goblet of Fire and be like, oh, yeah, no, Draco's totally into her. Now, obviously, we know that's not the case. So I think I'm just gonna do a like quick fire round of the like, no, this is not romantic. But the two like moments that I feel like people bring up the most for Draco being into Hermione is first the forest at the Quidditch World Cup. When he's like, keep that big bushy head down, Granger. They're coming to attack you, Granger. And everyone's like, oh, he's trying to protect her because he really cares. And it's like, no.
No, I don't think that's what he means at all.
No, he is being very, very shitty. Like, pretty much, he is always trying to one-up Hermione, and it's very hard because nothing he says or does really bothers her. But this is an instance where her Muggle-born parentage is, like, an objectively, like, you know, dangerous thing to have. Like, you know, it's sort of, you know, like, she doesn't have to feel bad about being Muggle-born, but, like, she's in danger in this moment because she is Muggle-born. So he's just sort of taking the moment to gloat, and he's like, well, you're a Muggle-born, so you should feel bad because you're in danger, because you're a Muggle-born. So, yeah, sucks to be you, the Muggle-born. And, he's just the worst sometimes. Which, like, Joe has very little patience for the Hermione shippers, and, like, I get it because, you know, she writes these scenes where Draco is just being completely awful, and then everyone's like, oh, it's because he loves her. And she's like, no. Like, Joe is sort of, like, you know, doing the spray bottle at the fans. She's like, no. But the other instance is his reaction at the Yule Ball, where, sort of, even he didn't seem to be able to... it says, even he didn't seem to be able to find an insult to throw at her when he, like, sees her with the sleek hair and everything. And, I mean, listen, yes, this is the part of the show where we cue up Granger Danger because that is a perfect song. And, you know, Star Kid knows what's up, but I don't think it's because he's, like, struck dumb by her beauty in that moment. Especially because, like, as we've been discussing, like, Draco doesn't evince a lot of romantic interest in people throughout the text. Like, we never see him sort of falling all over himself for a Vila. Like, we never see him getting tongue-tied around a girl. So, like, for how much he hates Hermione and, like, you know, like, all the loathing he holds deep for her, and the fact that she's a mudblood and all that, I can't see him being like, oh my god, she put some hair product in. Be still my throbbing heart. Like, you know, I don't think it's very in character for him to be struck dumb by how pretty Hermione is after all that's passed between them. I think he's struck dumb by Victor Crumb in that moment. Not just how hot Victor is, but, you know, actually we will get to that too. I think he idolizes Victor a lot. Victor is sort of everything Draco could aspire to be, like, sort of, you know, he's international Quidditch star, he's great at magic, he's a Triwizard champion, he's, like, respected all over, like, you know, assuming if he went to Durmstrang, he's definitely not a Muggle-born, because we know he has wizarding family. Like, you know, like, Draco idolizes Victor Crumb, and Victor Crumb, as, you know, the hottest guy on campus, could have any girl go to the Yule Ball with him. And he ends up with Hermione. And so I feel like when Draco sees them and he's struck dumb, it just, like, it does not compute for him. He's like, but why would Victor effing Crumb take Hermione Granger to the Yule Ball? Like, yeah, I think Draco's just flabbergasted. And I think he probably, you know, was not a very good date to Pansy that night and just spent the whole time being like, but did you see? But why would he take her? He could take anyone. Why would he take her?
He could have taken me.
He really could have. Like, do you know how good I'd look in that periwinkle blue dress?
And I'm great on a broom.
Yes. Yeah, you should see me riding a broom.
I mean, I agree about the Victor angle. I think it is possible that just for like a second, he actually legitimately didn't recognize Hermione because, well, in the movies, Emma Watson is just pretty before and pretty after, just in a different dress with slightly different hair. But I think in the way it's written, she actually looks very, very different. And her teeth are different. Her hair is, you know, extremely tamed and arranged. And she is not weighed down with books for once. So I could imagine that he sort of does a double take for a second. It's like, who is this? Oh, it's her. And then goes into the Victor thing when it's like, I can't believe he's with Granger. But I think there could have been a moment when he was like, oh, who's that pretty girl? Oh, shit, that's Hermione.
Yeah, I think that could be the key is like, for a second, he's like, she's attractive. Wait, it's Granger.
I was like, no, I can't possibly feel that. I'm not allowed to feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as I said, Joe really does not like this ship. I think it might actually be the first one she shut down, because even before Half-Blood Prince came out in 2004, Joe said, it's like, no, Draco Hermione is not going to happen. No, bad fans, you know. Spray the water bottle.
And you guys are liking Tom Felton, not Draco. Draco is horrible.
I mean, Joe's chip on her shoulder about people liking Draco is, you know, for another day because it's a very big and a very perplexing thing. But yeah, she specifically shut this one down. And did it, you know, beach the ship? No, it did not. That ship sailed on in fandom. Ugh, it was full steam ahead.
It still is full steam ahead to the point where Hermione fics are now being made into novels with all things changed to make it not a fic, not a fanfic anymore.
Okay, tell me more.
Three of them are coming out this year.
What?
What's it called?
One of them is Rose in Chains, which is the auction, which is like one of the most popular Hermione fics right now. It's very dark. It in itself is an alternate universe version of another fic called, it's like the Rights and Wrongs series. So that one is coming out this year. And then there's two more, and I'm blanking on which ones, but I will put them in the, like, I'll put the end in the description.
Please.
Because it's like a whole big thing is like Hermione's making it into like the real world now.
Oh, well, it has a beautiful cover. The book. I just looked up Rose and Chains, and it's very pretty.
Yes, and she just like announced what the dedication is, and it's a reference to one of her other fics So it's like really cute. It's for the Saturday Girls, which is a joke from the first one in that series, because the auction is technically the third one, but it's an alternate universe where Voldemort wins. So it's very interesting.
Hermione is so good in a dystopia. Like,
yes.
It just hits.
Yeah, so good. I have Rex. I mean, most people know, like, if you are already in the fandom, you kind of like know the main ones, like Manacled, The Auction, Secrets and Masks, which, like, if you want to have your heart broken and like be destroyed, Secrets and Masks is the way to go.
So Sierra, maybe this is what I need in terms of starting to actually read fan fiction, because I always want to, but then I find the whole thing really overwhelming because there is years and years and millions of stuff.
Yes.
So do you want to be my fanfiction theory godmother and just tell me, okay, Ev, read
Yes.
this one.
I can definitely do that.
This one is good. Read this one and just like feed them to me one by one.
Yes.
And then that way I feel like I can get into them.
Yes, that would be good. Maybe I'll put together like a how to start reading Hermione or other other ship fics, and I will give categories of
That
if
would
you want.
that would
like,
actually be
'cause
amazing. Like a fanfic starter pack. Like,
Oh, yes. Yes, please.
on it.
That would be brilliant.
because like I know I've done that for Wizard Rock. Like, because it's largely the same issue when someone is like, Wizard Rock is a lot. And I was like, all right, here is a starter pack. Like, listen to like these 20 songs and like, then you can sort of follow where your heart takes you. And, you know, you put on like Swish and Flick, you put on Butterbeer Experience, like you put on the Myrtles, Witherwings, Riddle TM, and sort of, you know, then let people do a choose your own adventure. So yeah, that would be really, really helpful for fanfic.
Okay. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So listeners, if you're in the same position as me, leave us a comment and hopefully Sierra can sort us out.
Yeah. Request, like, if you're looking for specific types or something, or if you yourself are a fanfic aficionado, give your Rex as well. That would be
Yes,
great.
please do.
Yeah, because Hermione is just all over. Skyrocketed into it's not a ship on the water anymore. It is a rocket ship.
Oh yeah. Like Hermione is like, you know, the like biggest ocean liner you can think of. Like it is, you know, the Oasis of the Seas or whatever like the biggest cruise ship right now is. I was like, that ship has grown and grown.
Oh yes.
Because I'm having difficulty imagining how it actually works given the way Hermione is and the way Draco is. The only way I can picture it's happening is if in first year Ron and Harry sort of turned her down from the membership in their group.
Yeah.
And how it affects her and how kind of Draco sort of picks her up then off the floor and things go in a completely different direction. I can sort of see that. But
So all right, I'm coming to this from a pre-Deathly Hallows perspective because like my sort of fanfic era was, you know, between Order of the Phoenix and Deathly Hallows, like those 4 years. What I really like about Hermione is that it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Like you can't do like I mean, people do, but of course, but I never found that, you know, the like 1,000-word ficlets worked where like, you know, they see each other, they lock eyes, they make out, and they're like, oh my God, where have you been my whole life? No, like Hermione, and I think it's a reason why so many popular Hermione fics are like novel length.
Oh, they're enormous.
Yeah, they're huge. Like, I asked a friend for Rex ahead of the podcast, and he's like, oh, you can do this one. It's like, you know, 400,000 words. And I was like, I'm recording in a week, so, maybe not. But yeah, you have to do a slow burn. They have to get to know each other. You have to do a whole enemies to lovers thing. They have to like start respecting each other. They have to find hidden depths in each other. Like, yeah, it doesn't work off the bat. You have to do a lot of work to get them to a romantic place, which like is what I like in fanfics, you know, as someone who's like on the asexual spectrum, like, you know, yeah, like the smut is fun and all that, like, sure. But I was like, if I can have a really good, like, slow burn, like, friendship romance where, like, you know, they get to know each other and they, you know, begin to change, and then eventually they, you know, do all the smutty stuff. I'm like, that's what I'm here for. And Hermione is sort of the absolute best for that because they require such a slow burn.
Right. Yeah. Usually it's like, you know, they meet up later once the dust has settled, or, and they're, you know, forced proximity due to like whatever their jobs currently are, or, you know, they've grown up and found each other again. I love when Draco and Harry have like, because they're coworkers, now they're best friends, but they're both like reluctantly best friends. But now Hermione's like having to be around him all the time because he's friends with Harry, which is hilarious. Yeah, a lot of times, like, they'll still go through the whole, like, Draco has to love and lose Astoria, which, like, helps, like, push him into, like, a new place mentally, where, like, Hermione can kind of meet him. Because, yeah, like, a lot of it at school, like you were saying, Ev, like, it kind of doesn't track because they're just into just totally different places. So,
disagree. Like
you think, but I think like you have to change some like pretty significant things about canon to make it understandable why they would get together while they're at Hogwarts.
Well, okay. So like, again, coming at this with like Deathly Hallows isn't published. Yeah, that's where I'm at. You could absolutely make a case for them in 7th year. Like, a lot can happen in a Hogwarts year.
Oh, like a rewrite of at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, again, the fanfics I read, like, were written when, you know, Astoria wasn't a glimmer in anyone's eye, and, like, we didn't know how book 7 was gonna go. And assuming they all end up back at Hogwarts, and like Hogwarts looks a little more like Hogwarts than it did in Deathly Hallows. You absolutely can make the case that, you know, they're in Newt level arithmancy together. Or, I mean, the most common trope of all, they're head boy and head girl.
Head boy, head girl.
Which, again, I said it the last shipping episode and I will say it again. Fanfiction writers, for the record, there is no separate head boy, head girl dormitory.
They don't have their own common room.
That is not a thing.
Their own space.
That is not a thing.
It's not a boy and a girl living together. I like where your head's at.
I mean, yes. Did I read all of those fics? Yes, I did. But for 100%. The record, it's not canon.
For the record, it's amazing. Also the record, no.
Yeah. Is there anything where Hermione is the one who walks in on Draco when he's crying in the bathroom?
Yes.
I know that is a thing. I didn't encounter it much because I think most of the fics I read were sort of like, you know, Half-Blood Prince ends, we go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would have wondered how that would have gone down if it was Hermione who found him.
But I think Megs or Nathan on our last shipping episode said that like that's a fairly like common trope where like Hermione's the one to find him.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's my subconscious telling me that something like that came up before.
You've heard this.
Yeah. But also because after Half-Blood Prince, Draco was so ripe for a redemption arc.
Yes.
And like Hermione seemed like a perfect candidate to do it. Because I like, as we're going to talk about, I feel like so much of shipping Draco, and especially so much of shipping Draco pre-Deathly Hallows, you know, when we were anticipating a redemption arc, is about Draco, like, you know, love turning him into a better person. Like, that is sort of like the character arc across all romantic fanfics that I read of Draco. And I feel like Hermione is sort of the best vessel for that arc because she's the Muggle-born. Like, it's the most direct way to make Draco outgrow his prejudices. Like, you know, it's one thing for him to date, you know, any given Gryffindor, you know, Harry, Ron, Ginny, Seamus, Lavender, whoever, and then, you know, go full on, like, Lord Lopez Harry Potter sequel, like, I'm really nice now. But I think it's sort of different and better if, like, you know, it's actually a Muggle-born. It's actually the people he's been taught to hate and look down on who is like, so, you want your life saved? You got some feelings you gotta get out? Let's do this.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You see, I would have thought something like this would just turn him more into like a Slughorn figure, in the sense that he no longer hates muggles per se, but he still thinks they are lesser, apart from the ones that he personally knows, which could be great, like Hermione.
I mean, absolutely. It sort of, it depends on how full-throated you expected his redemption to be. And perhaps full-throated is not the word I should use on a shipping episode. But anyway.
Maybe not. The full-throated redemption arc.
Hey!
Oh, boy.
Is that our title? Full-throated redemption?
Oh my gosh.
Could be.
Maybe.
But yeah, sort of, Head of Deathly Hallows, the expectation was Draco would, go full good guy 180, error of his ways, become a good person type thing.
Yes.
And yes, and if someone was going to do it, it may as well be Hermione. Mm-hmm. And I think we spoke about this on the Hermione episode too, but Hermione seems more willing to put personal prejudice aside in questions of allegiance.
Yes.
Where sort of she could be like, well, I don't like Draco, but if he's going to be on our side, then we should treat him with a modicum of respect.
Right.
And sort of that could be a much better foundation than if you're trying to do a Ron Draco thing, and Ron is not that open-minded.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, I completely agree. And you going back to fanfics of post everything, there was a lot of warfics where Draco turns spy, and Hermione's the only one to really trust that he's doing it for the right reasons. Not immediately, of course, but she's the only one who kind of comes around, and it ends up being a sticking point between her and a lot of the other characters in most fics, where they don't approve because they don't trust him and they're not willing to understand where he's coming from, of he's trying to save his family or he's trying to whatever. And so it is definitely you see that kind of through a bunch of different plots. Yeah. That she's a little bit more flexible to not necessarily see the best in somebody, but to understand that someone's allegiances and how they are as a person might be two completely different things.
Yeah. I read an amazing fic, and I mean, a million years ago, so I don't remember it. I wish I did. Where basically Narcissa hatched a plot because she basically wanted to save Draco after the events of Half-Blood Prince. So she cast an attraction spell between Draco and Hermione.
Oh,
yeah, to sort of get Draco saved by appealing to Hermione. And so then Draco is in witness protection, basically, and ends up with Hermione, and then they feel this undeniable pull, and then they consummate said undeniable pull. And then afterwards, McGonagall is, Hermione goes to McGonagall, and she's we have to protect him. And then McGonagall knows what's up. She's Narcissa Malfoy, what did you do? And Narcissa's well.
I love a Narcissa McGonagall matchup, team up, head to head. Any of that, them interacting in fics is absolute gold, and it happens more than you would think, and I love it.
Yeah, if anyone can find this fic from 2005, maybe on MuggleNet fanfiction, please point me towards it, because it was a wonderful read. It's great. There's also the dark Draco Hermione stuff, Delightful Pain, that whole genre of fics. But the redemption ones hit so well.
Well, while Hermione may be perfect for redeeming Draco, a character that I personally feel isn't trying to do a full redeem on this man, is Ginny. The Draco Ginny ship went hard around the same time that Irvin was reading fics. And I shipped this a lot. Mostly because the thing that I liked about it is that they kind of find each other in the middle a little bit more. she's not 100%, you know, light and as goody two shoes as Hermione. She goes a little dark. He goes a little light. They kind of hang out in the gray together. And I also think that they're a little bit more spicy, like in terms of just their, like, not on from a smutty standpoint, but just like they're.
I mean, also
Ginny's just more of like a little bit sassier and hard-headed, not hard-headed, but like a more of an aggressive personality, I'll say, because, you know, she's got all those brothers. She's got to hold her own. So I think that is what really like drew me to this ship when I was reading fics back in the day.
Yeah. So I admit that this might just be a failing of the fics I stumbled upon because, Ev, like you were saying, there's a lot. Like Draco Ginny never quite hit for me, which like on paper it makes so much sense, right? Like if you're looking for a good enemies to lovers thing, if you want a whole Romeo and Juliet shtick, like it's right there, it's in your face, like, you know, what more needs to be done? But yeah, I never sort of found like, you know, the fic to be like, yes, it all makes sense to me now. If you have good Draco Ginny Rex, like I would love, like I would love to read that. And I think it also, Draco Ginny actually might work really well, compliant with Deathly Hallows. Like Hermione Draco, at least the like pre-Deathly Hallows, post-Deathly Hallows looks very, very different. Just because she wasn't at Hogwarts, there was no head boy, head girl of it all, and so on and so forth. But with Ginny, like Ginny was at Hogwarts, Draco was at Hogwarts. They both were not thrilled about what was happening at Hogwarts. Like I could so totally see a fantastic Draco Ginny fic, like in their 7th year, and you know, Ginny is like pining for Harry, but then Draco is there, and Draco's like, "Ugh, Potter," but then like, but actually I wouldn't be opposed if he saved the day. Like I could absolutely see it. And yes, someone please recommend a good one to me. I want to read it.
Yeah.
I just love how it reads like a movie thing. It's like, oh, and she wanted this other guy, but this guy was here.
Yeah.
He was there. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Their children will be the palest of them all. With blonde Draco and red-headed Ginny.
I mean, but think
they
of
will not be able to be in the sun, even in Scotland.
But think of the wedding. Think of the Malfoy Weasley wedding.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh. Like, the most fun anyone could ever have at a wedding. They should just have popcorn by the bushel.
I just can picture them glaring at each other the entire time. Because neither of the families would be happy.
Yep.
Because Weasleys wouldn't be happy. Malfoys wouldn't be happy.
Yep.
And they would just be like, Urgh.
Yup. I mean, usually when we see Arthur and Lucius interacting, there are fist fights. So, you know, it'd be that kind of a wedding.
Traditional wedding fist fights.
Exactly.
No. Who doesn't want a good fight at a wedding?
It really livens things up, you know?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. But I think if they're going to get together, they need to, it needs to start earlier than Deathly Hallows, because if it starts earlier, then Ginny can send Draco an embarrassing Valentine's card instead of Harry. So I've made an attempt to rewrite the card to Draco from Ginny.
Oh my God.
So listeners, if you have a better version, please tell us. So this is my version. His eyes are as grey as a fresh silver sword. His hair is as blonde as a whiteboard. I wish he was mine. He's really divine. The hero who worships the Dark Lord.
Yes. Very nice.
Bravo. Brava.
I had to look up the rhyming words for toad and board and things.
Is a fresh pickled toad.
Fresh pickled toad is very good.
That was incredible.
But yeah, I want the younger, less confident Ginny there as well, because that'll be funny.
Yeah. I guess my read on Draco Ginny is that again, because I was there for the redemption arc, pre-Deathly Hallows, I never thought Ginny would care all that much about redeeming Draco. Like, I think, sort of you said that, she would be spicier. And yeah, I think she would just sort of meet Draco, like, where he is and being like, I mean, listen, you don't got to be a goody two-shoes, but, like, you can't be shitty to people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of like when they interact in other fics, like, basically any other one where Draco's with one of her friends, and they're interacting, you get a lot of, like, she is not afraid to give him all of the shit.
Yeah.
And, like, she's gonna stand up to him and be like, yeah, here, like, and just constantly dig at him. But that actually, like, makes it work. And you get some, like, really great friendships out of them in a lot of fics. And so I think that could translate to a very fun, like, relationship in and of itself. Of just, like, she's not going to put up with him being horrible. And she's going to, like, constantly challenge him, but then she's not going to, like, force him to change everything about himself or anything like that. Which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
I think kind of similar to what we were talking about on the Hermione episode, I think Draco needs someone to challenge him.
Mm-hmm.
I think sort of Draco has the type of personality where, like, he wants someone he can bicker with and argue with and, sort of work things out with, which I think is part of the reason why he and Pansy never worked out, because Pansy would never challenge him. Like, she thinks he walks on water. And, like, no, I think he needs and he wants someone to call him on his shit.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he needs that. He'd probably just be bored otherwise.
Yeah, Ginny would be great at that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I have a question for people who have experienced sports in their lives. Does romantic loyalty trump house loyalty when sports are involved? Because I read several fics.
Yes and no.
Where, like, at the Gryffindor Slytherin Quidditch match, like, Ginny is cheering on Draco, and I was like, over Gryffindor? I don't see it.
Oh, no. Probably not. Like, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, sure. There's also a little bit of, like, she can cheer on Draco but still want her team to win. Like, be like, you were really great, but we won.
Right.
So, like, you have to have that balance, but there's no way she's gonna, like, root for a Slytherin win over Gryffindor.
Yeah, like, what she's rooting is, like, the Victor Crumb scenario. She, like, wants Draco to catch the snitch but still lose.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I would say that that's the only way that it would work.
And I can imagine Draco is a terrible loser.
Probably.
Which is weird because he does it so much. He should be very good at it.
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, sort of, if we were talking about Hermione as the sort of, like, Muggle-born redemption arc where it directly challenges his prejudices, with Ginny and Draco, it's much more the Romeo and Juliet and the feuding families. And I think, like, it would be much more of the, like, it's not just that they have to, like, learn to like each other and live with each other, but, like, they also have to learn to deal and live with their families, which, like, has the potential for so much fun, because you have, like, Ginny facing off with Narcissa, which would be so great. And, you have, like, Draco learning to live with all of Weasley's brothers, and who are not shy about expressing their disapproval. Please see Percy Weasley, Christmas 1996.
I didn't think I could possibly feel sorry for Draco, but I think now I kind of do. In the context of, he's there for a Weasley Christmas or something.
Yeah, with the Weasley twins.
Oh, yes, it could be make him so uncomfortable.
Earning his stripes.
No, I think, for Draco Ginny, I feel like it's definitely an overshadowed ship at this point by the previous and the next are definitely like winning out in the ship wars here.
Yeah.
Is it Drinny or is it Draco?
I think Drinny. I think Ginny has only ever been a suffix. In ship portmanteaus. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is, did a lot of people think Draco Ginny was actually going to happen in Deathly Hallows, or was it always just like a fun fandom thing? Because as I remember it, I think we were sort of fairly clear by Deathly Hallows that like Harry Ginny's endgame.
Yeah, I think by that point for sure. I think there was like maybe a time in the middle where I was like, could they kind of find each other here? But I don't know that I actually like really thought it would happen. It was more just like that would be fun.
Yeah. Well, because pre-Half-Blood Prince, like we didn't know that Ginny was spicy enough to go toe-to-toe with Draco, and post-Half-Blood Prince, once she was spicy enough, then we knew it was going to end up with Harry.
Betrothed.
So there were, I feel like there were not a lot of canonical hopes for Draco Ginny, however fun it would have been.
Yeah, for sure.
But, okay, Sarah, I guess the other big Draco fandom ship, Drarry.
Yes, Drarry. Yes. Oh my gosh. Our first slash right here. Very exciting. Drarry is everywhere. Drarry is everywhere. And I think there's a lot of different like versions of this as well, kind of like similar to the Hermione, like you can kind of place them together in different points in time. However, like during school, I feel like it's slightly more plausible.
Yeah. I mean, no one can deny that Draco and Harry are completely and utterly obsessed with each other.
Yes,
like
100%.
Throughout the entire series. Like, Harry lives rent-free in Draco's head, pretty much from the word go. Draco pretty much lives rent-free in Harry's head for, well, at the very least, Half-Blood Prince. Like, yeah, I feel like it would not be a huge leap to, for someone to be like, so you know how, like, you are always thinking and talking about that guy? Right. Have you considered?
I feel like it's less of a leap than Draco and Hermione even, to be honest, because I don't think really Hermione gives Draco the time of day,
no.
While Harry gives Draco a lot of mental energy and attention.
Yeah. So my biggest thought on them being together is that they would accidentally become lovers.
I'm sorry. Would Harry accidentally impale himself on Draco as he usually does in fanfic?
No, so I just fell on something.
No, so basically this can be summed up in something that I read. I will give credit to the, I think it's a Tumblr of Marauders Forever, who has the perfect sum up of why this would be a thing. And I'm going to read it because it's amazing. Okay. It starts off when they're still enemies in Goblet of Fire. Draco makes a taunt about who Harry's going to ask to the Yule Ball and how they must be from the worst of the worst lot. And Harry rolls his eyes and says, well, fitting you say that, Malfoy, because I was going to ask you. Perfect zing, Harry. 10 out of 10. But now the ball's in Draco's court, and obviously he's not going to pass up on the chance to humiliate the Scarhead, so he takes the most logical route of humiliation and calls his bluff. Fine, Potter, I reckon we're going. But do you think Harry James Potter is going to just back down? That stubborn teenager is going to stare Draco down and say, reckon we are. Ron's confused, Hermione's confused, literally the whole entire castle is confused, but Harry's satisfied because he called out a bluffer's counter bluff with a bluff of his own, and they just keep it up. I suppose you don't even know how to dance, Potter. The furious teenager who spent years having to watch soapbox dramas with Mrs. Fig just glares at him in his stupid dress robes. I know some things. Prove it. Fine. It's like that for days until Draco makes the ultimate power move by inviting Harry to the Malfoy's annual New Year's Eve ball, taking out a Daily Prophet ad no less, because oh-ho, he's got Potter now. He'll never accept, and he'll be humiliated in front of the entire wizarding world. And do you think Harry's just going to go down without a fight? God, no. He's going to win whatever the hell this is, because he's Harry Potter. Draco better be worried. They're still at it 6 months later. Malfoy? Crabbe says, Potter just sent you a dozen roses? That son of a bitch. Send a box of chocolates. That'll show him. Draco, I will not be outdone, Parkinson.
That is amazing.
Yes. And then there's a little, someone like drew it out in a comic afterwards and then added many years later, and it's Harry and Draco standing like at a wedding. Scared Potter, you wish, Malfoy.
They're certainly both stubborn, so
exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if they're marry someone stubborn, but I wouldn't put it past them.
They're at least go on one date stubborn, for sure. And then things develop from there.
Maybe they can go to Madam Puddifoot's. That would
there
be
you go. Oh my
great.
gosh.
Okay, guys.
Draco, Harry, Madam Puddifoot's date would be gold.
First, I desperately want to read and or see this. Second of all, do we think Draco likes Madam Puddifoot's? Because I can't
he
imagine
secretly
he does.
I think secretly
Yes.
he does. Yeah.
Oh.
He will never admit it. But
No.
there's something about all the cupids and the little love hearts that really speaks to his little cold little hairy heart. In the end, he just wants to be loved. Because his daddy doesn't love him.
No.
His daddy loves him in his own way.
In his own way.
I mean, not in a super healthy way, but... yeah.
He can't have it all.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and with Draco Harry, ironically, I think the best canonical evidence we have for it actually comes in Deathly Hallows, which I do wonder if this was Joe slightly like, effing around with us.
Uh-huh.
I don't think so, because, yeah, I don't think she ever quite addressed the, very hardcore Drary shippers, but in the Room of Requirement, when Harry saves Draco, and Draco is holding Harry so tightly it hurt, I'm like, oh, the 6 words that launched 1,000 ships.
Is it mentally or physically or...
Oh, it's physically. It's definitely physically. So... yeah. I just remember reading that and I was like, I see what you did there.
Yeah. I think the validity of the Drary definitely comes in a very similar way to Hermione of just his redemption. I think there's definitely big differences. Mostly that I find is mostly because Hermione's so intellectual and so much more about the mind, whereas Harry, while smart, is not necessarily is not as book smart. And I feel like, we know that Draco is in the same intelligence level because he's in a lot of the same classes. But I feel like he comes across more intellectual than Harry, kind of in the middle between Harry and Hermione in terms of book smart intellectual.
I don't know. His
Disagree.
put downs are horrible. I don't really see how he's much of an intellectual.
Yeah, like, I think I'd ask receipts on that one, because I never got the sense he was any more intellectual than Harry.
I mean, I think Lucius wanted him to be more intellectual
Maybe that's
than
where
everyone.
I'm getting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he
Maybe
says
I'm
at
just
some
getting
point,
the like push from Lucius. of
There's definitely a
just
push because he does.
expectation.
Yeah, he does expect that he'd be better than Mudblood girl, but he never says that he was just like right behind her. He could have been anywhere in terms of his grades. So
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm just like extrapolating from the pressures that he probably is under.
I mean, listen, you read enough, like, Draco in the head boy dormitory fix, and yeah.
I mean, he did manage to become a prefect. So,
I mean,
kind of like
beating out such noted intellectuals as Crabbe and Goyle.
Crabbe and Goyle. Yeah, exactly. You don't have too many other options, though. And it's like you kind of have to have it be someone that like everybody knows.
Yeah.
and Ron was also a prefect, and he's not known for his, amazing intellectual capacity. I mean, he's okay.
No, but he was the runner-up.
I mean, yeah, sure.
It would have been Harry had Harry not had enough to be getting along with.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think becoming a prefect is necessarily a measure of somebody's intellectual capacity. So I don't think they've been picked for.
I don't really. I guess I don't really get the qualifications to be a prefect, because when at first you see, Percy and you're like, that is like what a prefect is. But then you see Ron and Draco and other such individuals, and you're like, is it just like any person that isn't failing? Like,
I mean, I think it's more about leadership qualities than intellect. And, like, yes, generally you want, like, the best students in the school to, like, be the leaders, for, like, the first years to look up to and all that. But, yeah, I think not necessarily the best students, because I feel like, the prefect's duties aren't necessarily to do with schooling or anything. They're more just with, like, corralling the kids.
Right.
And like, most of what we hear about prefects, like, the reason Tonks didn't become one is the ability to behave herself, or lack thereof.
Well, okay, Hermione and Ron have broken how many rules?
But all for the good cause.
But they can't behave themselves either.
I mean, Hermione hasn't broken that many.
They can, they just choose not to.
Yeah. So
I'm just still stuck on Draco impaling himself on Harry. I just can't get that out of my head.
I mean, there's a wealth of fanfics.
Yes.
A plethora, some might say. So, from the canonical standpoint, I remember not a lot of people thought it would actually happen in Deathly Hallows. I feel like a lot of people thought it could. Like, sort of from a Watsonian perspective, like, there's no reason Draco Harry couldn't happen, because, again, they're obsessed with each other.
Yeah.
But from a Doylist perspective, it was YA books in the mid-2000s. Draco Harry were not going to happen. It's unfortunate, and, it's very different now. Like, honestly, if the Harry Potter books were coming out now, I'd be like, like, over under on whether it becomes canon. But that said, the fact that people didn't actually expect it did not stop anyone from enjoying it.
No, not at all.
Rather like the Dramini of it all. Like, yes. I think perhaps maybe there's irony here, and maybe it says something once again about Draco's actual romantic options within the text, but the fact that by far the two most popular ships for Draco are the ones that we knew wouldn't actually end up happening, but we were just like, but we like it anyway.
Exactly. You can't tell me what to ship.
Yes.
But I will say one thing that I do not care to ship. It's Draco Ron.
Where did this even come from? it's just such a bizarre.
I mean, at some point, everybody's shipped with everybody, so you have...
Yeah, like, they're two of the main characters, so,
yes.
like, inevitably, it has to happen. But, like, yeah, don't see it.
I prefer Draco with literally any other Weasley. I feel like the most Draco Ron would be like, I hate... would be like, hate sex. They just are like, I hate you so much. Okay, there's nothing else to do right now. Yeah,
I hate you most, and they start making.
I just feel like kind of the opposite of like Hermione. Like Ron just doesn't have the capacity to like move on from his prejudices to make this work in any sort of satisfying way. Like he's always gonna hate. He's always gonna hate him. It's never going to be a thing. It's why Hermione often comes hand in hand with Ron bashing. Because
I mean, literally there is a page on TV Tropes called Ron is a Death Eater, which like has its roots in Hermione fandom.
Yeah. So like, there's just basically, I'm not of a singular mind to think that Ron is just always going to hate Draco no matter what.
But
and so I just don't think
consistency be kind of nice? Would you say? Draco might prefer somebody else, but he knows that he can always have perfectly satisfying hate sex with Ron. And he knows that nothing's there is going to change. Huh? I don't know.
I mean...
You could have a one shot.
I mean, you could have a many shot, but yes, I feel like it would only ever be that. Yeah. I think... Ron is not the type of person that Draco would want to change and be better for.
No.
Sort of, I feel like with Hermione, with Ginny, with Harry, with so many people, like Draco would want to eventually do the work to become a better person.
Right.
With Ron, like, no, Ron's a putz. Like, Ron does not have the patience to bring out the good in Draco. Draco would not have the motivation to find the good in himself for Ron. Because also, like... Ron is also close-minded. Like, first of all, he's also a pureblood. And, like, yes, we don't like blood traders. But, like, blood traders is, like, a thing you do. It's not something inherent in who you are. Sort of like, if, I guess if you're a mudblood, you will...
He can change him.
Right, yeah. Honestly, like, that's the thing. Draco could change Ron. They could just be trying to change each other for all the good it'll do. But, like, yeah, like, a Muggleborn's gonna be a Muggleborn. Harry Potter's gonna be Harry Potter. But, at the end of the day, like, if you have a blood trader who then buys into pure blood mania, then I think they are no longer a blood trader by definition. So... Yeah, so I feel like it would not challenge Draco's worldview as much to be with Ron, because, like, sort of, Draco would be like, so you should hate Muggleborns more like I do, and Ron should be like, you should hate them less like I do, and then they would just both have hate sex and call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I described my, Draco pairing with any other Weasley.
Yes. Let's do the rundown.
And so instead of Draco Ron, I posit Draco George, which could have some interesting redemptive qualities, especially post Deathly Hallows. I also feel like Draco, either of the twins during school, could be interesting just because they are so fun loving and could potentially, like, he's like, oh, well, I could do with some fun. My life is rough.
But also the way the twins, and I think a slightly more Fred, like, are so fantastically loyal to the people they care about.
Yeah.
Like, sort of, we see it the way, like, once Harry is adopted, like, the twins are just like, we will kill anyone who looks at him wrong.
Right.
And the way they, defend the family against Percy when Percy, betrays them. Like, I could really see, like, Fred, or George, but Fred, learning to care about Draco, and then, Fred becomes ride or die for him, just the way he is with his loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Why not both?
True.
Would Draco be into that?
I think so. Also,
Maybe.
Ev, I just saw your point, and...
Oh, the options that Draco gave Fred on their first date?
Yes.
You either ride or you die.
So good.
I'm sure somebody wrote something about that.
I'm
sure.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Ev,
Oh,
you are really on top of things this episode, rather the way many people end up with on Draco.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Next pairing that could work better than Draco and Ron would be Draco Charlie. Which I'm just saying. Hold on. Let me speak my piece. You can give your thing, but it's just waiting to happen. Charlie works with dragons, and his name is Draco. It's there. It's waiting.
Yep. Draco. Charlie would tickle that sleeping dragon, let me tell you.
Exactly.
Oh God.
I'm just saying. You could take a Hermione like the cursed one by Stein 048. You could take or Carpathian or something like that and turn it into a Charlie Draco like so easy. Just snap of the fingers. But you would like to leave him out of this, Ev.
Yeah, I'd rather leave our asexual icon out of this.
Except the part where we don't actually know if he's asexual.
Yes.
Well, no.
And except for the fact that it would
have.
still be better than Ron.
Yes. And except for the fact that dragons.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if I would leave this up to Charlie himself. If he wants to tickle this particular dragon, he can tickle whoever he likes, okay?
Yes. Yeah. Draco Ginny, better than Draco Ron, as stated previously at length. Draco Percy, I'm already writing a fic in my head. Lawyer drama, government angle, a Suits or a West Wing type of situation.
Okay.
You get them in a courtroom fighting against each other. Come on. That would be so good. I'm already writing it. It's never going to happen. It's never going to come out because I can't.
I'm sorry, are you already writing it or writing it? Good.
They can make out around the filing cabinets.
Exactly. Like defender and prosecutor.
Yes.
Like fighting in the courtroom, loving in the bedroom. Be so good.
Yeah. I don't know. Photocopier room seems to be whenever they do stuff in Suits.
Yes, exactly.
Photocopier room.
It would be good. Yes. But anyway, any other Weasley?
Wait, you missed one. What about Bill?
I know, but he's already with Fleur, and I like that. And I don't need to break that up.
Since Draco's a werewolf... Guys, since Draco's a werewolf and Bill, it turns into half-wolf, that brings them together. They have something in common. They, start a, Victims of Fenrir Greyback support group.
Perfect.
And, then those meetings become the highlight of their week. They always look forward to them. And, then Draco touches Bill's scars and is like, I think it's okay. Guys, I mean, it writes itself.
This is fair.
They eat raw steaks together.
Yeah, Draco Bill, all the way.
And all of this just needs to be any of these pairings, then coupled with a Arthur Lucius pairing that leaves Narcissa and Molly in a what is that? Grace and Frankie situation. Because if you have Arthur and Lucius together, you just know that Molly and Narcissa are getting kicked to the curb and are going to have to go live in the beach house. And that is what I want to see right there. That's what I want.
If by beach house you mean Shell Cottage, they already have one. So.
Whoa!
Yeah. Yes. So they're gonna kick Draco and Bill out of their love nest and just take it over.
Exactly.
Yeah, listeners, we would very much like to hear which Weasley you ship Draco with.
Yes.
And why is the answer all of the above except Ron?
Wait, hang on. I had a thought about Ron. What if Draco needs to be with Ron temporarily, just so Ron can introduce Draco to the rest of the Weasley brothers, and then, all the other stuff is happening.
Oh, is Ron the wrong guy at the beginning of the fic?
I think so.
I feel like that is all Ron ever is in any given fanfic. He's always the guy we kick to the curb.
Sorry, Ron.
Sorry, Ron, but just You brought it on yourself.
It's what you get for having the emotional range of a teaspoon.
Exactly. God, if one of these years we do a shipping Ron episode...
Oh, no.
I mean, first of all, we could do it in like 20 minutes. I'd be like,
yes.
He
It's
dies alone.
content.
The end.
No, I've seen him end up with quite a number of characters in other fics where he is the wrong guy at the beginning. Some of them work, and some of them are just kind of like a hilarious comeuppance. Where he just ends up with someone that's just so wrong for him, but he's just like too stubborn. He's like, that last one didn't end well. This one has to end okay.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's Draco with the trio, and the Weasleys. So the other, like, main ship I think of with Draco, which, like, has nothing to do in the canon, that, as far as I'm aware, is Draco with Theodore Nott.
Yeah.
Someone explain to me why this is a thing, given that Theodore Nott is in the books for, like, 2 lines.
It's because Theodore Nott is a fanon god. Sorry, it is what it is. It's because in fanon, he is everything, and everything is Theodore Nott. And he's amazing. And it's because he's only in 2 sentences and he can be whoever you want him to be. So he's canon, but also not. Haha.
Okay. Yes, I feel like this is usually the dynamic, because, like, the shippers are, like, shipping. And I'm like, I mean, if your ship is getting floated, but, like, okay. Like, there are entire Wizard Rock groups devoted to Draco Theo.
Well, that's pretty crazy.
Yes, tip of the hat to the band /Fiction, who, like, have done entire, like, sets at concerts of their Draco Theo material. My personal favorite song of theirs is Obvious Desperate Need, which is not suitable for this podcast and our jukebox, but is amazing nonetheless.
Okay, let me note that down.
Yeah, Obvious Desperate Need. It's so good. I mean, that one actually might be their Dreary song, now that I think about it. I think, okay, so the Wizard Rock project is devoted to Draco Theo. I think their signature song is Down to the Black Lake, but they have one Dreary called Obvious Desperate Need, and I'm obsessed.
So what I want to hear about is the Driomione? Sierra, explain yourself.
Driomione.
Driomione?
Yes, Driomione. Thrupples be thruppling, man. Okay, it's Hermione plus Theo. So usually Draco and Theo are already in a relationship, and then they invite Hermione in on said relationship. Or she begins relationship with one, and then they all end up together. Usually, though, it starts with the boys. And then they're like, hey, we're both also into you. What do you think about that? And yeah, even a lot of, like, Hermione that has Theo as, like, a main kind of character person that you see, is there's a lot of, like, vibes of, like, did Draco and Theo used to be a thing? Are we sure they aren't currently a thing?
It does seem like a bit of a clutching at straws sort of ship, to be honest.
Well, it's because Driomione, I believe, was born straight out of Hermione, because Theo is almost always, like, one of Draco's really good friends, or somehow helps the two of them get together or something like that. Or, like, Hermione's friends with Theo, and then he reintroduces her to Draco, something like that. And people really like Theo as a character, and he's usually portrayed as, like, I don't know about usually, but in a lot of fics, he's, like, very flirty and just, like, a super happy person. And so they're like, yes, well, Hermione and Theo would be really good together, and Hermione and Draco are really good together, so let's just put them all together. So yeah, there's a lot of Driomione as well. And that when you put them together, and also with just Draco Theo, it's usually because they put Draco and Theo as like opposites to each other. So you have like, you know, if Draco is more of like a weak, like recovering from war Draco, then Theo's usually pretty strong. And if it's the other way around, where like Draco's a very like harsher character, then Theo's like the quiet, bookish one who just, you know, is just like more sweet and sensitive and stuff. So like you can basically use him as a complement to the existing characters. Or you have a batshit crazy Theo, which is always entertaining. But yeah, so just them in general is just an interesting, because it's mostly just because you can use Theo kind of however you want.
So while you can use Theo however you want, from the canonical point of view, you can make it happen within the canon. Mm-hmm. Sort of, there are signposts, because even though in the books Theo is only there for like 2 lines, mm-hmm. In the Apocrypha we got more on Theo. So in Joe's old website there was an extra stuff piece about titled Malfoy and Nott, where she talks about there being a deleted scene where the Notts visit Malfoy Manor.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so, you know, in that scene, we see Draco and Theodore alone in the garden having a talk of their own. Which, you know, first of all, it's like, yes, you know, going back to the 17th century courtship styles, like they're out for a walk in the garden.
Talk in the garden.
Yeah.
But are they properly chaperoned?
Oh, gosh, one hopes. Otherwise, you know, more riding, more impaling. But Jill said that, like, she really liked this scene because we rarely see Draco talking to anybody he considers a real equal, and he is forced to see Theodore as such because Theodore is just as pure-blooded as he is and somewhat cleverer. And so I think that's the interesting part about putting Draco with Theodore, because as we've said, Draco's buddies in Slytherin, Crabbe and Goyle, and I'm guessing Pansy, are not intellectually stimulating to him. No. You know, even if he's not an intellect like Hermione's, I think, you know, sort of he needs someone to keep up. So right. putting him with Theo, where sort of Theo is a Slytherin, so, you know, you know, he doesn't have the whole, like, oh my god, Gryffindor enemies to lovers thing, but he's Draco's equal, and so he's not going to be subservient, he's not going to be in awe of Draco as a Malfoy, and so I feel like that could be a very fun dynamic for them.
Yeah.
The other part of it is there is a story taking place just off the page, if you pay attention, where Theo is the likeliest candidate for a Slytherin to go apostate from Voldemort's cause, because his father gets badly injured in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. Mm-hmm. You know, ironically, Draco's father is like, you know, leave Nott, leave him, I say. The Dark Lord won't care for his injuries. And after that, we never see Nott hanging out with the Malfoys. We never see Nott, you know, partaking in any Death Eater shenanigans or supporting Voldemort or anything. So I think there's a good chance that off the page there's a story playing out where Theo gets disillusioned by the Dark Lord, by how his father was treated and disposed of after decades of loyal service. Mm-hmm. And so once again, I feel like we always end up with Draco in a like redemption arc when, you know, it comes to me. But like, I feel like that would be really powerful, where Theo has just, like, totally had it with the Dark Lord, like, wants nothing more to do with it, like, seen the light, seen the error of his ways. And so then he, you know, and Draco are building a relationship, building a rapport, and, you know, they're intellectual equals, so Draco can't just be like, you dumb. Mm-hmm. But because Theo has, you know, had it with the Dark Lord and doesn't, and left all of that behind, he could sort of be like Draco's route out of that whole life. And it would be a much more gradual thing, and it would be like a much less dramatic thing. You know, it's like, I'm dating a Muggleborn. It's like, no, I'm with a totally like respectable, pure-blooded Slytherin guy. Like, there's, like nothing objectionable about who he is, but his ideas are what is radical to Draco, and sort of seeing that whole arc play out, where either, Theo is actively trying to bring Draco, like, out of the Death Eaters, or you can do it the other way, where Draco, like, has, seen what being a Death Eater's like, and, seen snakes eating people on his dinner table, and just, like, wants no part of it, and so he can also go to Theo and being like, I mean, you and your family got out, like, I would like to get out, how do we get out? So, like, there isn't a lot to go on, but I think it's definitely, like, you can see how the story would play out with them. So that's my take on Draco Theo. But again, I am shocked by its proliferation.
Yeah. If there was more, I think from a canon standpoint, like, it's already huge, but, like, it would be interesting from a canon standpoint to have a little bit more personality to go off of, just to see, like, is anybody on the right track?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, Theo's one of the characters where, like, I feel like he has one of the most interesting stories, playing out off screen. I'd really like to sort of see the arc of a Slytherin, like, growing disillusioned with Voldemort and, like, getting the heck out of that whole mess. So,
yeah,
give us Theo Nott's story.
Yes, which honestly you can get in a lot of Hermione, especially, like, wartime. Hermione
yes,
fics. You can get a lot of Theo becoming disillusioned as well. It's very fun.
Yeah,
and also it'll be nice to have kind of like a current generation disillusionment story where the person is actually alive rather than dead. I'm thinking of Sirius's brother.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Regulus.
I mean, I
that
think
would be good.
Yeah, I think Regulus is also very popular in fanon and fan fiction. I guess largely for the same reasons that, like, we love a Slytherin who breaks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we go from Theo, who is in the canon very little, but, we could see the story playing out, to someone who is not in the canon at all, but does get the guy. Let's talk about the actual canonical person that Draco ends up with, Astoria Greengrass. And we're like, yes, Astoria. That one.
We totally know who that is.
Yeah, so much. Which also, can I just say, my favorite joke in the Puffs parody of Cursed Child is that Draco is married to Sunnyside. Because I live in Astoria, New York, and the next neighborhood over is Sunnyside, and it is the funniest joke, like, to the New Yorkers, like, everyone lost their shit. And I will forever think of Draco being married to Sunnyside Greengrass.
That's fantastic.
And it makes no sense to people outside of New York whatsoever.
No, I like that one. That's just for us.
It's a very targeted joke.
So yes, Joe said in an interview right after Deathly Hallows came out that Draco ended up with someone named Astoria Greengrass, and everyone's like, "Oh, her."
Uh-huh.
Flips through the book. We're like, Greengrass, you say? So later on, when Joe did a piece on Pottermore, we got the official story, which was, quote, Draco married the younger sister of a fellow Slytherin, Astoria Greengrass, who had gone through a similar, though less violent and frightening conversion from pureblood ideals to a more tolerant life view, and was felt by Narcissa and Lucius to be something of a disappointment as a daughter-in-law. They had high hopes of a girl whose family featured on the Sacred 28. But as Astoria refused to raise their grandson Scorpius in the belief that Muggles were scum, family gatherings were often fraught with tension. Which, first of all, yeah, Lucius and Narcissa are not having an easy time of it, whoever Draco ends up with. I feel like we've just accepted that, like, nope, family gatherings are gonna suck for them.
Yes, pretty much. Unless they decide to change as well, which, oof.
Yeah.
Rough stuff.
I wonder how much younger than Draco she actually is.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Okay. Because they would have been in Hogwarts together.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think we would have heard at least something, but no.
Well, okay, so looking at the timeline, right? Like, up to year 5, Draco is 15, she's 13. Maybe let's not.
Yeah, he's not really going to have any interest anyway.
Right. And then come year 6 and year 7, Draco has a lot on his mind and isn't really, like, looking out to be dating. Not that he super was before. So, like, of course, there could be something playing out off screen, especially in Deathly Hallows, like, because we wouldn't know. But I think it's very plausible that, like, Draco just sort of didn't have the bandwidth for it, and then come, like, after the Battle of Hogwarts, once he got to breathe, he was like, oh, hello, Astoria.
So potentially they might have not had any, if at all, interaction at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the implication, that they, like, saw each other in passing at Hogwarts, but, like, only got to know each other after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what appealed to Draco, because there is no baggage.
True.
As would have been with the people he remembers well from Hogwarts and he interacted with. So somebody's kind of more of a clean slate that doesn't remember him as little shit.
Yeah.
So if he was trying to kind of turn over a new leaf a little bit, it's, leaves of grass, green grass, Astoria green grass. I don't know.
Yeah. The fascinating thing for me about the Draco Astoria story and pairing is that I feel like pretty much everything we've discussed, and okay, I'll accept the blame, everything I've discussed, has been about Draco being redeemed through being with someone better. Mm-hmm. Like the love of a good witch or wizard, and, like Draco wants to be better for them, and so on and so forth. And, like, it's fascinating that Joe subverted expectations, yet again, and had Draco, like, do the work on his own. Like, see the error of his ways and become a better person on his own, and then he gets together with someone who has undergone a similar transformation. That they, like, didn't go through that together, but, like, they changed for themselves, and then were worthy of each other. So, yeah, as usual, Joe never does, like, the easier predictable path, and especially where Draco and his redemptions are concerned. So, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you convinced me, actually. I think I was kind of... I didn't have any strong feelings about this one because, as you said, there's so little available in the text about it. But having discussed it together now, I was like, yeah, no, I kind of see it. Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I also think it's healthy that, like, someone doesn't marry their high school sweetheart.
Yeah, for real.
And I mean, to be fair, they all go to the same school, but...
Right, like, I think it makes sense that that you would marry someone who was at Hogwarts with you, because if you're marrying a witch or wizard in your country within 6 years of your age, you went to Hogwarts with them.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like, if in a small town, if you marry someone in town, like, good odds you went to school with them. But the fact that, like, they weren't sweethearts in high school, I think is very nice, and I approve.
Yes.
But since I fell off the fanfic wagon, soon after Deathly Hallows came out, Sierra, what's Draco and Astoria look like in fanfiction, if anything?
Okay, it doesn't. Okay, so I
Great,
literally went scouring for, like, some Drastoria fics to prep for the pod. I was like, oh, I should probably, like, see what the top ones are, and, like, because this is the canon ship, like, I should find some more information. Okay, I basically found nothing. There are lots of fics where this is, like, a minor plot point, or, like, where it starts Draco Astoria and then it goes into Drary or Hermione or whatever. There are fics that I found where, like, Lucius and Narcissa are reminiscing about their lives and they're talking about just, like, Draco and Astoria being together. But there's, like, nothing from a, like, Draco Astoria POV. And I even had, like, a friend try to source some on like there was some sort of like Draco Astoria comment section, and she was like, "Oh, hey, can you like what are some like fic recommendations?" And was literally just flat out told Justoria ain't a fanfic. So like cue sad cries #justice for Astoria, because she just basically almost always dies for the sake of the OTP, except for when she's like a cold-hearted person, and then once that I can remember that I've read where she was a really dope lesbianism as the Friends reference, but like basically it's like she almost always dies, and like
keep Astoria out of the fridge.
I know.
Which, considering how fucking cold it's been here, I also say that in real life. Keep Astoria out of the freezing cold.
Yeah, so it's rough stuff for her. There's a handful of fics where she's not dead, but most of the time, you know, we get the same. She has a blood disease story, and then she's gone, and it's really. And sometimes it's devastating, and sometimes it's just a fact, and sometimes she's just like she doesn't die, but she's just a terrible person. And it's like, oh gosh.
Oh wait, is that going to be like How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
So Astoria dies,
Exactly.
and then Draco gets together with Hermione.
Yep, pretty much. It's rough. It's rough stuff.
Okay, I am perplexed by the fandom. Because we just talked about Draco Theo, and you said that he's so popular because he's a canonical blank canvas. Mm-hmm. Is Astoria not a canonical blank canvas?
Yeah, like, but people don't want him to be with Astoria.
Too heteronormative.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why she doesn't follow along the same rules. Maybe we know just enough about her that like people have written her off already.
We know less about her than about Theo.
She sounds so interesting. What we do know that like she decided on her own not to raise her son with these values. Like, give me that story.
Yeah. All we know of her...
Slytherin, come on.
Like, all we know of her is she's from a fancy pants pure blood family, and she marries a post-redemption Draco. And then, thanks to Pottermore, we know that she, you know, had a similar redemption arc. And I was like, I literally take all your fanfics, take all your hopes and dreams and desires for Draco, and they can all be projected onto Astoria. I just... Like, this really does baffle me from a fandom perspective. Like, I would think that sort of Astoria would, you know, take off like nobody's business and, like, be completely defined by fanon, and instead she's just a complete non-entity, and... Yeah. Like,
I don't know if it's because...
Fanfic writers, what are you doing with your lives?
Yeah. I almost wonder if it's for the sheer fact that it is canon. And everybody wants to write about what could have happened, not what did happen.
Fascinating.
Potentially. Because, you know, Ron and Hermione fanfic was huge, and I read a ton of it.
Yep.
Until they actually happened.
Yep. That's very true, actually.
So, and like Harry Ginny now is like they're still fairly popular, I'd say, but they're more of an afterthought. They're like a Harry Ginny inside of a something else story.
Well, yeah, but that's because Ron, Hermione, Harry, Ginny plays out like on the page. It's because we see the story happen.
Exactly.
Whereas Draco Astoria doesn't.
True, but I still feel like it's that same vibe because you're still seeing Ron, Hermione play out on the page, and there was still so many. I mean, middle school me wrote fanfics about that one.
I mean, middle school me did as well. Like,
while it was happening.
But then we are Harry Potter fans of an age.
Yes, but then as soon as that happened, then it was like,
So
not as interesting. I don't know.
So one of my major fanfic ships, besides all the Hermione, was James Lily. Like, James Lily was huge. I think at one point it was, like, the second biggest pairing on, MuggleNet fanfic after...
I remember that.
After Hermione. And so, like, similar concept, right? Where, like, we know they end up. We know it's canon. Like, we know what happens. And yet people... were so eager to fill in the story that they knew was canon. And, like, at least personally as a writer, I really liked working within canon as opposed to sort of branching off into AUs. I mean, I did occasionally because they're fun, but I mean, especially since my fanfic heyday was before Deathly Hallows, I very much tried to stay within the canon. So, yeah, I really kind of thought Draco's story would be the next James Lily. And, yeah, no, it's just... is a puzzlement.
Yeah. Justice for Astoria.
Justice for Astoria.
All right. Those are like all the main ships. We've got some minor ones that we can see being a thing. I'm adding.
Yeah, we are. But here's a fun thing. Since we were talking about main ships, I went through the Draco tags on AO3 as research for this episode, because never let it be said I don't research. And I think it's time for the 7 ingredients of today's special, which are
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
the 7 most popular Draco ships on AO3.
Yes.
And so these are in order of popularity. Number 1, Drary. Number 2, Dramini. And I'm like, yep, this all makes sense. Number 3 is actually Draco Astoria.
Okay.
And but here's where I will say, I was faked out by this as well.
Yeah.
Because when you actually click on Draco Astoria, it's because it had happened, and now she is dead.
Well, and I was gonna say that, I don't think it's ever, well, not ever. I don't think it's usually, like, the focus of a fic. I think it's like, we're writing about Scorpius going to Hogwarts, so there is a Draco Astoria in the story. Yes. Like, Draco is running around the Ministry of Magic. There is Draco Astoria in the story. So, yeah, there's no way to, I think, search AO3, or, I mean, I don't know. I'm not as well versed as I should be in AO3. If there's a way to search by, like, main pairing. So yeah, I think Draco Story is present in, ironically, only the 3rd most fanfics, despite being canon, but not starring in any of them. 4th on our list of 7 is Draco original female character. And I'm like, fanfic writers, hear me out. If you give your original female character the name Astoria Greengrass, you could go to town.
Oh my gosh.
Which, I mean, in fairness, I'm sure a lot of it is pre-Deathly Hallows. But I saw this and I was like, y'all, what are we doing? 5th up, behind the original female characters, ironically, is Draco Ginny. Which, as we've said, good stuff. 6th is Draco Ron. And I'm like, I mean, I guess...
surprising.
I think it's like by rules of prominence.
Fair enough.
It's sort of like, I'm sure there's some kind of like fancy pants equation of like, you take like how main the characters are and like, that correlates to like how much people will ship them just because like, if you think of a Harry Potter ship, like, and you think of 2 characters, like, those will come to mind. But yeah, y'all, Draco Ron, like, I think we are all agreed that Dron is not it. Yeah. And then, I was so curious. I was like, and what like minor character has risen to prominence? I mean, I expected Theo, but the 7th most popular Draco ship on AO3 is, drumroll please, Draco/Reader.
Okay.
I mean, I shipped Draco/Reader when I was reading.
And let's be honest, this is Joe Rowling's no TP. Like, I don't think she likes Draco Hermione. I think there are lots of ships she doesn't like, but I think the ship she likes least of all in the world is Draco Reader.
That's true. I can see that.
But yeah, I was so interested to research this.
I love that list.
Thank you.
I
thank
do
you.
wish there was a Draco/Weasley in general, because then together it would be Drizzly.
Oh my god.
That's so good. But yeah,
I
there's
think
too
it's a good
many
ship
of them.
name.
Yeah.
Well,
too many.
don't let anybody get in the way of Draco's good time, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. But wait, here's my question. Would it be Drizzly, or should we do a portmanteau of the last names so it would be a Malfizzy ship?
Say that again?
Malfeasley.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I did not say that correctly. It would be Malfeasley. You know, like malfeasance.
I'm a big fan
Okay,
of that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Malfeasley. I like it.
Yeah. But obviously, the conversation does not end there, because there are hundreds more characters to ship Draco with, and we will go through each of the hundreds, one by one. Every character who has ever been mentioned in the 7 books, we will ship them with Draco, because I am sure the fanfic exists.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you're on some kind of a long drive, listeners, or
Like, now it's time for part 2 of 6 for this Draco shipping episode.
No, we're joking, you guys. We're gonna go through
We're half joking.
We're half joking. We're gonna go through a number of them, but it's not gonna be as crazy.
Yeah. Let's do like half a dozen quick shots.
Yes. Quick shot. Draco Neville, hear me out. I can hear the protests. Hear me out. Hear me out. I had a whole conversation about this the other day because I was positing what could theoretically work.
Sierra, I love how much you talk about shipping Draco in your everyday life from the sounds of it.
I really do. Okay. So I can see this ship going one of two ways. There's the ick version and then there's the good version. So the ick version is unfortunately how it would be like handled in canon, which is the classic, like, Draco is mean to Neville because he likes him and he can't handle his feelings. So
gross.
That's the ick version. I don't like
Gross.
it. I'm not a fan. It's uncomfy and no thank you.
No.
They have secret meetings. It's all secret. It's all ick. The good version of this though is grown up. Post-Hogwarts, grown-up Neville. He's come to terms with who he is. He's come into his own. He's moved past such petty childhood bullying and now has none time for such nonsense. A la, like, a Neville out of Wait and Hope, which, like, don't get me started on how much he is bae in this, because Pan Bottom, Park Bottom for the win.
Okay, could I get subtitles on what you just said?
Yes,
because
you can.
Ev, I don't know how you were doing, but I caught
will
like
explain.
a third of the words in that.
Okay, there is a Hermione fanfic called Wait and Hope, and in such fanfic, Neville and Pansy got together, and it is amazing.
Uh-huh.
And it has made me want Pan's Bottom for life, or Park Bottom, whichever one you want to do.
I don't want to do either.
It's great. It's great because how they're written, they were like really basically Neville's like in a lot of Hermione fics and other grown up fics that has Neville, he's often like become kind of a badass, which is pretty great. Basically, like, take Neville chopping Nagini's head off and extrapolate from there. So, like, I like a Neville who basically has, like, come into his own. He then works in healthcare or therapy, or he's just awesome. And then he helps Draco overcome his shit. And that's the good version of a Draco Neville
That's kind of a big leap there.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like it can be... I don't know that it's too much of a leap, though, because so many things are like, it used to be bad, and now it can be good if we both, like, get over ourselves type of a thing. And I think it has the redemptive qualities of a Hermione or a Harry, but the, like, original, like, clashing of heads of, like, a Ron. But it works because Neville's going to get over it. Or not necessarily get over it, but, like, be able to move past it and not be completely dwelling on his hatred for the rest of his life.
I'm not sure I care for it. What I do care for is I have an image in my head of Neville bringing a pot of pansies to his first date with Pansy because he's good at growing plants and
Yes.
her name is a plant.
Yep.
And it's really awkward and kind of adorable.
Oh, yes.
And she doesn't realize they're pansies because she dumb. And she's like, "Why'd you bring me these flowers?" And he's like,
Yes.
"Because they're pansies like
Yes.
you." And she's like, "What? That's dumb. Why do I want flowers?"
And then over time she realizes how cute it is over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do a Neville episode. I want that.
I will give you
Okay.
six.
Yeah. But Neville Draco, I'm not convinced.
Okay, all right. If you're not convinced, hear me out, because
Are you
I've
convinced?
thought of this, like, while we're talking, because in my mind immediately is like, year 7. How are they getting together in year 7? I apparently am really stuck on the fact that everyone in the Harry Potter world will get together when they're 17. I'm sorry, I will work through this on my own time. But it's Deathly Hallows. Draco and Neville are at Hogwarts. Neville has long-bottomed, and he has long-bottomed hard. And Draco is over the whole Death Eater thing. He doesn't want snakes eating people on the dinner table. He doesn't want to torture people. And so Draco's like, "Oh my god, this is the worst. I don't want to be a Death Eater." And so who does he turn to but the badass leader of the Resistance, Neville Longbottom?
Hell yeah.
And, right, and I'm just picturing him, like, coming to Neville and being like, "All right, listen, like, I know we've had our stuff, but, like, I don't want Voldemort back either, so, like, put me in, coach." And Neville, being the bigger person, is like, "Well, you were terrible, but this is war, so you know what? Welcome aboard." And then they shake hands, but then there's a charge when they shake hands, and then they lock eyes, and then they lock lips. And anyway, that got away from me.
And then,
Yes,
and then
I'm here for
Draco
it.
says, "Yours is the only rock bottom I want to hit."
Yes!
Ev, you're on fire.
Ev, this is your Hall of Fame episode. Just
I don't know what's
bravo.
happening to me.
Oh my gosh. Whatever you ate and drank today, it's the magic combination, apparently.
I mean, clearly.
Oh my gosh.
That is just my amazing brain. What can I say? Okay, fine. You convinced me now.
Good. My mind is opened towards Draco Neville.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next quick shot.
All right, next quick shot. Draco Cedric. So first of all, I love Cedric. I'm obsessed with Cedric, and Cedric is kind of my little black dress of fanfic. I was like, I will pair him with anyone, and it will be wonderful because he is wonderful. But I actually was put onto Draco Cedric. My friend Julia Benjamin wrote a fanfic called Draco Malfoy and the Goblet of Fire about sort of Draco's year 4 and his off-the-page friendship with Cedric.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where, like, Cedric isn't a Gryffindor, so he's not like, grr, arg, be a good person now. Cedric is just sort of, like, patient and kind, and he's like, well, that was a shitty thing to do. I don't think you should have done that.
That was a choice.
Yeah, and especially younger Draco, because, Cedric, well, dies. But younger Draco, I feel like
Spoilers, man. Spoilers.
he'd respond much better to that than a, like, combative, like, you know, think about your life, think about your choices type thing. Mm-hmm. And I could sort of really see them getting to know each other, and Draco, who has always looked down on Hufflepuffs, like, you know, getting a begrudging respect for Cedric because, like, other than the puff thing, like, what is there for Draco to object to, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's a pureblood, he's a good Quidditch player, he's good looking, he's a Triwizard champion, and because Draco is supporting Cedric in the Triwizard tournament, I mean, not, like, because he wanted to, but because there were not a lot of great options for Draco, like, I could sort of see Draco really coming around being like, well, I originally supported him because, you know, I hated Harry, but, like, actually, like Cedric is awesome, and, like, I do support him, and, like, yeah, like, go Cedric, woohoo!
I like it.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it before, but now I'm going to read this fic.
It's great. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it ended up on AO3. I will hunt it down.
Okay.
Because I'm sure I have a link somewhere. Let me just add a note. But yeah, no, so it's a great fic, and yeah. Honestly, yeah, Cedric works well with everyone. Next quick shot, while we're on the subject of Draco with Triwizard champions, Draco Victor.
Yes.
You know, we talked about this in the Dramini of it all, but, like, Victor is everything Draco could ever want to be. You know, pureblood star Quidditch player, you know, like, internationally renowned by the age of 18, like, you know, girls want to do him, boys want to be him and do him, like... and also, going back to the Yule Ball scene, like, I don't think it works well as, like, you know, Draco's come to Jesus moment about how much he likes Hermione. I do think it could totally work as him being hella jealous of Hermione, where he's like, why is she going to the ball with Victor? Like, Victor could have taken me.
Yeah, that could be his moment of realization. Oh, actually, I would have really liked that.
Yeah. And
I think there is possibly an opportunity for having a different dynamic because, well, Victor is older, more famous, and better in pretty much every way than Draco. So would Draco be in a less of a kind of a dominant position? So we have an opportunity to see Draco kind of, I don't know, maybe he's like softer side or something if he has one.
No, I think definitely the other side.
You think the other side? Okay, fair enough.
I mean, the Victor Draco fanfics I've read tended not towards the softer side. I think there were broomsticks involved quite often. Yes.
Well, that makes sense.
It would, right? Because they're both Quidditch players. Yeah. So yes, I would be down to read a, like, you know, like, gentler, sweeter, more romantic Draco Victor. But, like, at least in the Draco Victor direction, I think, you know, you could totally make the case that, like, canonically Draco had a crush on him, and sort of, like, nothing in the text to say otherwise.
Mm-hmm. I'm into it.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone want to complete the set and go Draco Floor? Because, I mean, they're both blonde. That's about all I've got for you.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think Fleur would go for it.
I don't like it.
No.
No.
Who is this little boy?
All
right, let's go to the other hot blonde woman that Draco should totally be with.
Yes.
Luna Lovegood.
Yes. Honestly, I like it.
I like it so much. I should not like it as much as I do.
I think he will be so confused by her and find it kind of refreshing and stimulating.
Yes.
Because she would not take any of his shit, and he would try all the same things he tries on everybody else, and none of them would work.
Yeah, well, she just, like, she would be so completely unfazed. Like, you know, she'd have no time for his nonsense. Like, you know, he'd be like, mudbloods. And she's like, well, that's not a very nice thing to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he's just so used to people biting on whatever he says that it would be very good for him when people don't.
Exactly. I think it would be slightly similar to a Cedric dynamic, but I feel like Cedric would just be like, well, I don't think you should say that, in like a kind and patient way. Whereas like Luna wouldn't, like, you know, even try to be sugarcoated. She'd be like, well, that really seems like not a thing that people say in civilized society. Anyway, Nargles. And yeah, I think Draco could actually really respond well to it, because if he's not getting amusement or applause or antagonism, you know, if, like, yeah, I think he would sort of stop being so shitty.
Yeah, I like it so much.
It's so good. Also, can we just give the biggest shout out to Harry Potter sequel? Because, like, when Draco and Luna get together at the end, I was like, this is the best thing. It is everything that I never knew I needed, but I so obviously did.
Yes, so good. All of the snaps.
All the snaps.
Oh, Draco Rita, that's an interesting one. I don't think I've ever heard this one.
I have not.
You know, all those cozy nights, working late, making up horrible lies about Harry Potter, you know, plotting and scheming to bring people down. They share a lot of the same enemies, and, you know, relationships have been built on less.
The age difference makes me uncomfy.
You don't think she would bug him too much?
Hey!
But yeah, she's like a lot older than him, so maybe not.
I mean, I'm not saying it would be healthy.
I mean, unless it's one of those crazy fanfictions where, you know, somebody goes back in time and it's actually young Rita and
Right, yeah.
the same age Draco. I don't really know how this
Wait,
works.
no, guys, I figured it out. I want to do big Harry Potter style. I want Rita to suddenly become a 14-year-old, and she ends up with Draco, and then they fall madly in love with each other, and oh my god, it's perfect. Oh my god, it's so perfect. Does this fanfic exist? Can this fanfic exist? Someone either find it for me or write it for me.
And Draco decides he also wants to be an animagus, and he becomes a dung beetle, because that's what he deserves.
Oh, no, Draco would be a nice little ladybug.
Oh.
No, I like ladybugs, so no, he can't have that.
And you don't like Draco?
Not particularly, no. Not enough to give him the ladybug as an animagus form, so no.
Well, no, what about a nice little grasshopper?
Yeah, fine.
Ooh.
He can have that.
I'd see Draco as a grasshopper.
Oh, wait, no. He can have dragonfly.
Yes!
I like it.
Draco,
Yeah.
dragonfly.
Yes!
There we go.
It's
Yeah,
perfect.
and then Rita could tickle that sleeping dragonfly.
God. So much tickling going on.
It is at that point in the episode.
Oh boy. And you know what? It's a good thing we're at that point in the episode, because now we're going to bring up the best ship of all time.
OTP!
Drapple. If
Drapple!
you know, you know. And even Tom knows.
Everyone knows.
Oh, Drapple's good.
For those of you who don't know.
First of all, where have you been in this fandom for the last 21 years?
For those of you who don't know, Draco and green apples specifically, because he always seems to be eating a green apple in the movies.
Yes.
Therefore, Draco and apples. And if you even read just other fanfics with Draco in it, his favorite thing is apple flavored things, green apple flavored things. He's always eating apples. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Whoever he's with, the condoms are always apple flavored.
Oh, God. And you're probably
What?
not joking, are you?
Practice safe sex.
Yes.
You can't rely on those Hogwarts birth charms forever.
Oh, man.
Wait, guys, I just realized. Drapple with Rita, because if she's a beetle, then they like fruit.
Oh, right.
Oh,
It
this is
depends
the
on the
throuple
people.
I will get behind. Yes.
Oh, man.
But yes, no, obviously Drapple is the real canonical ship. Yeah, there's nothing to debate.
So since we're talking about really like proper canonical ships, how do you feel about Draco Voldemort?
Ev, you're fired.
Just straight fired.
I will not deign that with a response.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not real, but it is pretty hilarious to think what might have happened following that horrible hug. But nothing, because that never happened either.
Be like, is that your wand, or are you just happy to see me?
Oh, God.
You started this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's okay. No Draco Voldemort.
I take it back.
I take it back. Although, however, Drapple, I'm not taking back. I mean, Draco, Crabbe, and Goyle spend a lot of time together, and these, and apparently ships have been made
Built
from
on
less
less.
than that. So somewhere, I'm sure on the internet there is a Drapple ship.
I'm sure there is.
It's not that it can't happen. I
don't
just
want it to
don't think
happen.
anyone wants it to.
I don't like it. Not at all. No, thank you.
Yeah, like Ev, you were so busy asking whether you could, you never stopped to wonder whether you should.
Oh, absolutely not. But you could argue some of the other ones probably shouldn't happen either. But yeah.
I mean, yes, we've all agreed that Draco Ron shouldn't happen, but I feel like we're good with most of the others.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So we're not doing that one either. So although if somebody has read Draco Crabbe or Draco Goyle or all three fanfiction, do let us know, and we will see.
I mean, you can let Ev know.
Yeah, you can let me know,
I'm
then
good.
I will take one for the team and I'll read it.
Yes.
And I will tell you.
Fantastic.
What it's like. And then I will have something. Then we could have an update episode just for this, and I can convince you all how amazing of a ship that is. Highly unlikely, but you never know.
I would enjoy hearing you try.
But it's all up to my fanfiction theory godmother, Sierra. What I start with.
I'm here for you. I will
Thank you.
I will put
Thank
something together. We'll make it happen. And if anybody has a pairing that they really like, or you disagree with any of the things, or you want to make sure that we also enjoy whatever pairing you appreciate, you got to give us Rex to change our minds. We're sitting here with the change your mind sign and the mug, and we're waiting.
Yeah, you have a chance to participate in my magical fanfiction education, because the only fanfic I have read that I remember is My Immortal. So, and I could do better. Help me do better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, the great thing about shipping is, like, as we joked earlier, like, there's millions of possibilities out there. And so, like, we tried to focus on, like, the somewhat more canonical or plausible ones. But, like, honestly, all it takes is one good fic to completely change your mind. I read one good fic 20 years ago, and I ship Loop and Petunia to this day. So...
Fascinating.
Amazing.
If one of the next shipping episodes, we will get into that. But I guess, sort of zoomed out view, what do we look for, and what do we like when shipping Draco? I think as we've realized, I just need him redeemed with the love of a good woman or man or bug or fruit. But I'm here for Draco's redemption through love.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's something I would prefer as well.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other overall thoughts on shipping Draco, on what all we've gleaned from it?
It's just fun.
It's very good fun.
It's just very good fun. Join us.
Yeah.
Come talk about it with us.
Yeah, and I think I feel bad for Astoria and how underrepresented she is.
Agreed.
Yes.
Justice for Astoria.
For sure.
All right. Well, Irvin,
Yes.
what is playing on the pub's jukebox today? Not that song that you were talking about before. I'm assuming.
No. I mean, I'll be honest. Shipping Draco Malfoy, like, we could have a whole ass concert, like, here at the pub. I was like, I have so many songs for this. Also, like, including Astoria, this isn't the song playing today, but Swish and Flick has a song called Astoria Greengrass and the Pure Blood Prince, from Astoria's perspective about, like, her love with Draco. So I'm like, at least in Wizard Rock, Astoria has seen some justice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But basically, if shipping Draco Malfoy, there is nowhere else to turn but the entire oeuvre of Swish and Flick. Her entire persona, her entire sort of, theme running through her music is wanting to sleep with Draco Malfoy. We've talked about Astoria Greengrass. She has one about Luna called Love Me Luna. It's one of my favorite songs. So just basically check out the whole album. But we're going to keep it, at an overview tonight with playing her song titled, fittingly, Draco Malfoy, which really just encapsulates everything we've talked about.
Draco Malfoy, you've been a very bad boy, a Death Eater at 16, and now you make the girls scream. Draco Malfoy, you know you make me hot, boy. I want you to deflower me like lavender or pansy. I love the way you talk with your sexy British drawl. I love the way you make your little house elves crawl. I love your gray eyes and your white blonde hair. I love the way you act like you just don't care. Follow me up to the astronomy tower. After we're done, you might need a cold shower. You're the hottest boy in Slytherin. You make me go wild with your come hither grin. There are things I want to do, but I'm afraid it's a sin. Let's play Quidditch naked and I'll even let you win.
I really do admire the focus on this one thing.
Yeah, I like also one of my other favorites is Malfoy for Christmas.
Oh, gosh.
About how she wants to unwrap a Malfoy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
It's very good fun.
Well, a huge thanks again to Sam Omen, who bought us this round of drinks at the Three Broomsticks. If you, dear listener, would like to buy us the next round, please head over to patreon.com/3broomsticks. That's with the numeral 3 to sign up. You can also help by rating and reviewing us. And if you like our show, please don't forget to tell your friends. Word of mouth helps us hugely, and we always love to see new listeners.
And listeners, we want your fanfic recs. We want to hear your opinions, your hot takes on Draco's hot takes. Basically, get in touch with us. You can find us on social media. We are on Twitter, TikTok, ? Never quite sure on that one. Instagram and Facebook. Our assorted handles and our email address can be found in the episode description or on the website. That website is 3broomstickspod.com with the 3 spelled out. There you will, find links to whatever essays we mentioned, to whatever fanfics we mentioned and can find. You can submit a topic. Actually, listeners, tell us whom you would like to hear us ship next. Because,
yes.
If this is an annual series, which I very much think it is, because I love these episodes, Hermione and Draco are kind of the obvious ones. But yeah, who should we talk about shipping next? Should it be Harry, Ron, Rita, Apples? Let us know.
Giant squid.
Oh, giant squid. That's going to be a 2-part episode. There's so much to cover. So many tentacles. But yeah, do let us know your thoughts on the website.
And the next time we meet at the Three Broomsticks, we'll be discussing Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 10, The Marauder's Map.
Excellent.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Sierra.
I'm Irvin.
And I'm Ev. Thank you for listening. See you next time in the Three Broomsticks.
Cheers!
Give me big old buckets of butterbeer. Give me big old barrels of butterbeer. Give me the drink I love so dear. And another round for my friend right here of the sweet old butterbeer.
This episode of The Three Broomsticks was edited by Patrick Musilek. The theme song was written and performed by the Faithful Sidekicks. Make sure to check them out at thefaithfulsidekicks.com.
Oh, come on.
Okay, I'm back.
Alrighty. While you were gone, he spit up all over my hair.
Oh no. He really doesn't like that ship, huh?
No, apparently not. Alright. He's like, move on. Let's go to something else. Come on. What do you think?